Hello YouTube and Patreon, this is Nathan P. Butler, and this is our project update for the month of October 2020. Unfortunately, it has been a hellishly busy month, but not for projects, basically. For work right now, it's kind of a heavy time. Students doing a lot of, coursework, which is great, of course. But on top of that, our team is developing, our entire program is developing new courses, and our team is working together, 5 of us, to put together a sociology course for next term, which means a lot of question writing and prompt development and stuff like that, because typically, if you're producing a quiz, say that's 10 questions long, you don't want it to just be those 10 questions that's created, because then every student sees the same 10. It's super easy to basically cheat, but also to memorize the questions if you go back for another round of retaking something. So instead, for every individual item that you create, it's actually better to create more like 3. So, for instance, a final exam of 50 questions actually requires creating 150 individual questions of different complexity levels, etc., etc., etc. So we're producing a really good product, I think, with what we're doing with the questions, but it's a very time-consuming task. And as the lead for the department, I have some other responsibilities as far as overseeing things, reviewing things. It's just made for a hellishly busy October, but it'll be a little bit nicer, a little bit lighter load, hopefully, based on what I'm seeing in our schedule for November. Couple that with things like I turned 41, and that weekend we decided to get the heck out of town for a little bit just to kind of get away and sort of reboot and refresh. And multiple doctor's appointments for different people within the household and whatnot being done. And my wife's work schedule changing again so that she is now working weekends again, which she hadn't been doing for a while, and so on and so on and so on. And you wind up basically with a month where there just hasn't been a whole lot of time to do much of anything when it comes to sitting down and recording. So I belted out several things in early October that we'll talk about that I'm still in the process of editing, but I just want to give you that sense here that if it feels like it's a light month, it's kind of a light month because it's just been super busy. Thankfully, I had recorded some stuff in August that took so long for me to edit it that, hey, we had some stuff come out in October. But I'm not sure if it's a good thing that it took 2 months to get that stuff out, or a little bit less than 2 months. So, that all being said, first off, I want to start out by thanking all of you who are backers over there on my Patreon. That, of course, is patreon.com/NathanPButler. We have the Travelers Through the Butlerverse, the $1 tier. Those folks get a thanks in these videos. It says in the credits, but I also try to say it out loud in every video until it's somehow like a non-manageable number of people. Then, of course, they also get the thanks in the Patreon credits page for the second edition of A Saga on Home Video. Then we have the Denizens of the Butlerverse, that is the $5 tier. Those are the folks that also, aside from just that stuff, also get access to my 2 or more, but typically 2 audio commentaries posted on Patreon per month. Right now for the Clone Wars primarily. Eventually it'll go into stuff like Rebels. And then, of course, we have the Nobility of the Butlerverse, the top tier. That is a $10 tier. These are the folks that also, on top of all that stuff, get access to the exclusive Q&A video every month. Last month was an interesting one because Jonathan Comfer, I believe it was, asked me about my voting history and my history with elections in general, which made for a very unusual topic because usually the questions are like pop culture and Star Wars-y stuff. So that's pretty cool from last month. And we have some questions already building up for the one for next month. So if you want to get in on it, of course, then jump in, do the $10 tier over there, the Nobility of the Butlerverse, and then you can ask your questions and get those into the exclusive Q&A video for a given month. Anyway, my thanks go out to all of you who are backers over there on Patreon. The Travelers Through the Butlerverse currently include Caleb Owens, Justin Richard, Preston Ellis, Jeremy Goss, Ben Abrams, Michael Torson, Jacob Kapoor, Tony Jenkins, Kevin Kreiner, Daniel Marchant, Austin Pierce, and Chris Walker. When I get to Daniel's name, I feel like I always pause because I say it and I'm like, did I say it right? Then I move to the next person. So my apologies for the pause. I think it's just me trying to make sure that I said it right, which hopefully I am doing. Then we have the Denizens of the Butlerverse, who include Jeff Rabjohns, Dave Broadway, Matt DeRochers, Joseph Blankenship, Travis Taylor, Andrew Gilbertson, Walker Langstratt, Kyle Pellegrini, Nathan W. Mortimer, Jeff Ellis, Joey Zitzman, Stephen Malicia, Robert Medina, Bobby Craig, Jeremiah Mustard, and Jason Hunt. Followed by, of course, the Nobility of the Butlerverse. You can see me looking down so I can pull up the lists. because you can actually sort on Patreon now. We have, for the nobility, Connor Steyerman, Matthew Hardesty, Ennis, Jonathan Comper, Sam Howard, Brian Snook, Andrew Bettis, Aaron Melzak, and Benjamin Handelman, the original first Patreon supporter for me. So thank you all, and again, if you want to get in on any of that action, it is patreon.com/Nathan P. Butler. Speaking of Patreon, what is out or what is coming at this point? Since the last time we did one of these episodes. So back on October 1st, we had the commentary released for Darkness on Umbara, beginning that 4-part Umbara arc, which is a really, really good one for Clone Wars, so made for some fun commentaries there. On October 4th, we had the exclusive Nobility of the Butler Numbers Q&A episode. That video was number 34 of those. And then on October 15th, we had the Clone Wars commentary for The General. Unsurprisingly, probably, the next ones that are coming up will be the commentary for Plan of Descent on November 1st and for Carnage of Krell on November 15th. That, by the way, is as far as I have recorded. I did finally manage to get my hands on the Clone Wars comics that the Slaves of the Republic arc of the Clone Wars cartoon series was based on, so that I can do the comparison. I did it years ago for Republic Forces Radio Network and for the Star Wars Timeline Gold, but I'm going to reread them, get my last notes ready to go for that next arc of the series, record those soon, and that'll get us set up for the ones that start then on December 1st and onward there. So we're getting close to wrapping up the ones I've already got recorded and ready for the commentaries, but we're good through November at this point. Now, speaking of audio content, I would note I usually don't talk about podcasts anymore because I'm not part of any anymore, aside from just doing the audio commentaries for Patreon. But the reason I'm recording this now on a Friday, the 23rd, is that my wife works the weekend, which usually means that my recording time would be Saturday, not Sunday, in those cases. But Saturday I am recording a podcast. I am a guest on Star Wars Beyond the Films. So returning home a little bit here. Mark and Jim are actually beginning their new Jedi Order coverage that so was something Mark and I had talked about for years but never got around to doing. They're now kicking that off with Vector Prime and decided to invite me to be part of that first episode. So yeah, I'll be part of an episode of Star Wars Beyond the Films sometime in the near future. I won't be with them for the entire new Jedi Order, episode run, whatever that winds up being, however many episodes it winds up being, but I'm joining in on the first part of that journey. So you can expect to see that soon. I'll be recording it tomorrow, and I don't have to edit them anymore. I'm not part of the show officially anymore, so it'll be out whenever whoever's editing now finishes that task. I do not envy them, and I'm kind of glad I'm not having to edit podcasts anymore, aside from commentaries that don't need much editing. But what I do wind up editing quite a bit, when I get time of course, is the stuff for YouTube. On YouTube, we had some new episodes from the Star Wars Home Video Library here within the last little bit since the last of these updates. I will say, what basically happened was I recorded a bunch of them on August 1st, or August 4th, or something like that. It was August 4th. And it took forever for me to edit them all. But I finally got the last of those edited during the month since our last update. And then I recorded more, and I think it was October 4th, and I've gotten a little bit of those edited, I think maybe like 2, and I've still got, I want to say, 6 left to edit from then that are coming up, but that allowed us to actually have some content here in the month of October for that particular series. I'm actually probably going to record an episode right after I record this, which is why I'm trying to move a little more quickly, and if I manage that, then that may be one that comes out a little earlier than the ones that are already recorded, because I know folks are really curious about those 33 releases from August 24th over in the UK that are now in my hands, thanks very much to the help of Julian Smith. So we'll be taking a look at those in the very near future. Hopefully I'll be recording that immediately after this. But of the episodes that did get edited from August and from October that got out since the last update, we had episode number 332, which was a look at the official UK fan club exclusive VHS that was basically the making of episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which was kind of a weird thing with Steven Sansweet narrating to a white background, but pretty cool nonetheless, something that doesn't have a US equivalent at all. We had episode 333, where we looked at a rental copy of The Phantom Menace from the UK, which was extra large because of just how their rental cases tended to be back then. 334, we looked at early copies. I think the first copies actually of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi coming out of Australia on VHS. And 335, we stuck with Australia and looked at the 1995 VHS releases individually of the original trilogy. No box sets or anything that time in what we looked at. Episode 336 kept with Australia, kept with 1995, and looked at their, what is it called? Strictly limited edition VHS version of The Making of Star Wars. Then episode 337, we had the UK original trilogy steelbooks coming from Zabby recently. And then episode 338, we looked at the Clone Wars VCD coming out of Turkey from 2014, which time-wise was just a little bit weird. I have, by the way, at the urging of Matthew Hardesty, and simply because of all of the stuff from Matt Fry that was from outside the United States on VHS, particularly the UK stuff and Australian stuff, I have finally broken down and bought a multi-region VHS player. Really kind of cool looking. You kind of flip the front down. It lets you choose CCAM or PAL or NTSC, and then you tell it what your TV is. It gives you a chance to watch whatever format you want on televisions in whatever region you want. So I'll be able to actually look a little bit more at those than just describing the general content and the specifics of the packaging variants and that sort of thing. I'll be able to start talking a little bit more about actual content as long as I feel safe enough to put an old VHS into that player without risk of damaging it. And in fact, the fact that it has CCAM available, not just NTSC and PAL, convinced me to actually buy, again, thanks to Matthew Hardesty pointing me to it, a CCAM VHS, my first CCAM VHS from France of The Phantom Menace. So we'll get a chance to look at that as well, and this will provide a nice little CCAM example for the book. Speaking of the book, that of course is the other big thing, and that is something I can work on when I don't have time to record. So I've been doing a lot of work on the book. All of the pictures I've already taken, the hundreds of pictures I've already taken, are all now edited and in the book. So there's more to take, and then edit and insert. But every single one of the hundreds that I had taken that were just sitting there waiting to be edited are done, and they're in there. I have just done a new printout recently of the book as a work in progress to do hand editing again, to make a note of things to change, things to add, copy editing stuff, and that sort of thing. This is where it stands right now. Holy crap. For what it's worth, right now, the last of the pages that actually have any content on it at this point is page 650, and I have counted only the pictures from chapters 1 through 9, which are the live-action films, nothing from chapters 10 through 18, but 1 through 9 and the introduction that has one picture. And right now, there's over 650 pictures in the book. My guess is the final book will be somewhere between 700 and 800 pages, probably closer to 7. And it will probably have, and in fact, it probably already has more than 1,000 pictures in it. All full color this time around. So, really happy with how it is playing out, but just lots and lots of editing to do at this point. I'm kind of flipping through. Like, you see my editing passes here. Basically, I sit down, I read it, I do my edits by hand in pen, and then I go through, and as I implement them into the actual document on the computer, I highlight them with the highlighter so I know that those are done. Any pages that are now ready to go, I do a little check mark down at the bottom to remind me. Any that aren't, I don't. And then any of the ones that don't need changes anymore as far as I know, I then move to the back of my binder, just making it easier for me to manage. But it's a lot. I expect I will do this editing pass, do some more writing and more pictures, then do another editing pass, and probably do another editing pass after that as we get closer. But I definitely feel like we're getting to the point where a first half of 2021 release is pretty doable. Most of the text is done, pretty much. There's just like a few little sidebars, little side issues to note. Things like getting dimensions of some of the art cards of different releases so that I can put those in there as comparison. And of course, more pictures. So in general, we're getting fairly close. My concern now actually is it's going to be a fairly thick book, but of course the ebook version won't matter, right, because it'll be digital. I'm wondering if there's ever a third edition, because surely they'll keep putting out new releases. Maybe the third edition doesn't even happen until new releases just die and physical media is dead. Who knows? This one took 2017 to 2021 to go through the process. But it makes me wonder if the next one, the third edition, would have to be digital only or have to cut content, because I don't know just how thick the book could be when it's 6x9 without getting to the point where it's just unwieldy and might start to fall apart when you're opening it and it creases the spine and everything. So we shall see, but the second edition looks like it's going to be really, really, really nice. I'm very proud of that work, and I continue to work on it at this point. With that, though, that's pretty much everything that's been going on, right? So we've got, busy everything other than this stuff. Me being back on Beyond the Films for one episode very, very soon. The Patreon stuff, the YouTube stuff, progress on the book. Pretty much it. With that, I will wrap up this update so that I have time to record that episode about, these. What is that? We'll see an episode on that soon. It's a screener. But these, I'll be recording about here in just a moment, so you can get that episode soon, and I'll catch you again for another of these updates in a month. Thanks for your interest, and stay safe out there.